Hi, I'm Elaine and my website is countryhomeandheart.net, and today I'm going to be cooking some collard greens among some other things. We're going to be doing some white beans later, and I'm also going to be doing some cornbread, so I'll have all those on separate videos later on today and get those put in. So right now we're going to start these collard greens. I'm going to show you what I got. I have these collard greens already. They're already washed and cut up, but I like to still go ahead and wash them anyway, and I always parboil these. I'm going to show you how I start my greens, so hang on just a minute and we'll get this bag open. Okay, and now let me just turn this down so you can see. Oh, there you go. You should be able to see the strainer in the sink here. Okay, so I'm going to take these collard greens and I'm just going to put them inside. Inside my strainer. I'm going to pull out. See, this one right here is not real great, so I'm going to take that one out. Okay, make sure that I have these. Make sure that I have all these in here. And while I'm going through this bag, I am looking for ones that don't look like they're good, or maybe the leaf has got something on it, so I'm double checking that as I go. Okay, now I'm going to turn the water on these and just kind of start rinsing through. And I'm just kind of checking. I'm feeling to make sure there's no grit or any sand or anything on these. I don't feel anything. Like I say, these are pre-washed and pre-cut, so I'm assuming that they're okay, but I just like to make sure. Okay, I'm going to take that off, and I'm going to put them over here in my pot. I have my pot on this side of the sink, and I'm going to put them in my pot. Put these started. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing with more of these. I'm going to put them in and just check and make sure the leaves are all okay. And let's just go through again and make sure I get all these washed really good and that there's nothing in them that's going to cause an issue here. I'm going to transfer these to my other pot. I'm going to get away from us here. See, that leaf right there is a little yellow, so I'm going to take that one out. Alright, and get the last of these. And I know that this seems like a lot of greens. This is a 32-ounce bag. But these do cook down. You'll wind up with a lot less greens than you started with by the time they have cooked down. Okay, so we're just going to do the same thing. I'm checking for any kind of bad leaves or leaves that don't quite look like they should, like this one right here. I don't care for the look of that one either, so. Alright, there we go. I'm just going to put those in the pot. Okay, and there's my pot. And now what I'm going to do is run some water in these. I'm still kind of feeling around just to make sure, but I think everything's okay with these. They were pretty clean to begin with, so I'm sure that they'll continue to be that way. And what I'm going to do is run the water in these, and I'm going to put them on the stove, and I'm going to boil them just until they turn kind of a bright green. And when they do that, I'm going to take them back out again and put them back in the strainer, and then I'll show you how I'm going to put them in the crock pot and get them seasoned up. Okay, so let me move my camera. I'm going to move you over here to my stove. Okay. Alright, and I'm going to put my pot on my stove. there are the greens, and I'm just going to turn this up to high and bring this to a boil. And when these turn bright green, I'll be back and show you what we're going to do next. Be back in a minute. Okay, we're back, and you can see that my greens have changed color. They've turned into a brighter green, and they've cooked down a little bit, and so I'm ready to put them in my crock pot. So I brought my crock pot over here so that I can load this in easier. And so let me just put these in the crock pot. And there we go. I have those in the pot. Now I'm going to put my seasonings in them. Let me move you around so that you can see what I'm doing. So hold on just one second, and I'm going to bring my pot over here. Okay, there we go. That should bring you around where you can see. Okay, now what I'm going to do is, in this container here, I have about a tablespoon of salt, and I have about half a teaspoon of sugar, just to make sure that we don't have any bitter things in the greens, that they're going to be good and sweet, and they taste good. Now I don't want enough to sweeten them, but I just don't want them to have a bitter taste. Okay, and to that I'm going to add, this is a ham hock that I have cut up. And I'm going to add that into it, and then the rest of this I'm going to hold off because I'm going to put that in my beans in a little while. Okay, and one last thing that I'm going to add to this is about a tablespoon. This is fatback drippings, and I actually purchased these at a restaurant for cooking purposes. And that'll get these seasoned. Okay. And there we have it. Now I'm going to add a little water to these. So let me get a measuring cup, and I'm just going to pour some water into these too, because I don't want them to scorch to the bottom. There we go. And that was probably about a cup and a half of water that I added. So, okay. Alright, and then I'm going to put the lid on my pot, and I'm going to turn this up to high, and just until they start to smell good and begin to smell. And once those start to smell, I'm going to turn this down to low, and we're going to let these go for a few hours till they get tender. I don't want them to get mushy. Now, my mom always made them mushy, and I didn't want them to be mushy, but okay, I'm going to turn this up this way so I can talk to you a minute. Okay. Now, when I was young, my daughter was young. She came in from school one time, and I had been cooking collard greens, and she said the house smelled like dirty baby diapers and wondered what I'd been doing in here. So, but now she's an adult with a family of her own, and she actually cooks collard greens quite often. She's learned to like them over the years. So, okay, so I have the collard greens going, and I will be back when I start the pinto beans. It was going to be white beans, but I found some pinto beans, and I know how much my husband likes pintos, so I'm going to go ahead and fix those for him. So we will be back shortly. Bye-bye.